Have you ever heard you should delay your gratification for later because that's going to be the best reward? Well, let's talk about that today, specifically around Social Security. Should you delay in getting your Social Security payments until later? So today is actually going to come out of good old Costco magazine. Yes, I shop at Costco. Go figure, right? By the way, if you're in Hawaii, you have to shop at Costco because it's way cheaper than everywhere else. But anyways, Costco magazine has some good stuff. Every other month, they got a nice little article from our friend, Susie Orman. Right? Now, normally you'll hear me rip on Susie Orman. I'm going to talk about some of the things I agree with and maybe some things I could add on or maybe even just put my own spin on it because for the most part, is delayed gratification good? It just depends. In many cases, delaying your gratification for later can be a great thing. When it comes to money, however, you have to weigh the reward versus the cost. What's actually going to cost you by not doing those things? So for example, she's talking about Social Security because the question is really this. He says, delayed gratification is not something that comes easy to most of us. Yet one of the smartest retirement strategies you can make in your 60s is to delay when you start receiving your Social Security benefit. So is it really? This is what Susie says. For those of you who don't know, you can start collecting Social Security at the age of 62. But every time you wait a little bit longer, that benefit goes up. So they give you a benefit that you've been paying into for the rest of your life. Now, for those of us in our 40s, or even younger in our 20s and 30s, we don't even know if we're going to have much Social Security. My prediction is there probably will be something still there because I can guarantee baby boomers are definitely not going to vote it out. They need the money because they haven't saved enough. Why? Because if you watch my other videos talking about why retirement accounts and mutual funds haven't worked, you'll realize everybody's going to need Social Security, especially if they keep putting money in their 401ks, even with the match. So I don't think it's going away. But I don't think it's going to be as profitable. So many of us have been paying into the Social Security our entire lives, our entire working lives. Yet, we never really get back dollar for dollar. So if you're going to get it, what's the best form to do? Do we get it at 62? Do we wait till we're 66, 67, 70 years old? Well, here's what Susie has to say about that. She says you can start collecting at age 62, but your benefit will be 25 to 30% less than if you wait until full retirement age, which is 66 and 67. But she even says if you wait till 70, you'll have a benefit that's more than 75% higher than waiting until you're 62. So what she's saying is you can almost double your Social Security by waiting 8 years, right? Now, that sounds amazing. The big question is this, and she even addresses this question, because the question I always get from people is, well, why not claim this money early and invest it? Or the other thing is, how do I know I'm going to live that long? Well, that's what she addresses as well, because she knows you. She knows what you're asking. So she does say the higher benefit is guaranteed. The 6% to 8% annual benefit increase Social Security gives you for delaying your start between 62 and 70 is guaranteed. Could you earn as much investing on your own? She says, maybe, but it would involve you taking a risk. Remember, in the traditional financial mind, they believe that high risk creates high returns. She says, no stock or bond investment guarantees a positive return that high. She's absolutely 100% correct. Susie, I agree with you because the stock market sucks, right? We already know 30-year average, the average actual return has been around about 7.6, 7.7% depending on the day. That's the actual yield of the S&P 500. Most people never even get as good of returns as the S&P 500. And even if you invest in the S&P 500, you're lucky to get even that return because you still have a little fee coming out. So you might get 7.5%. What she's saying is here, this is guaranteed. So at least she's addressing the investing versus not. However, with the things that we teach, where we talk about doing things on not Wall Street, but with Main Street investing, things like alternative investments, such as real estate investing, those have a much higher return track record. Many of the properties I've bought have at least a 25 to 30, 40% per year average if you include appreciation, cash on cash returns for the rent, and not even including much of the tax benefits. Many of those things do go up. Is it guaranteed? Of course not. Never is guaranteed. But I'll tell you, historically speaking, we've done pretty well, okay? So could we beat it? Yes. And that's what many of my clients will debate is, well, should we invest or not? Well, it depends. She's right. Could you make a better return? Can you guarantee it? No. Nothing is guaranteed in this life other than death and taxes, right? But the thing that we do know is that we could make a better return than 8%. Then the other thing she addresses as well, she said there's a good chance you'll be alive into your late 80s. Now, this is 100% true. And I was going to go to my own stats that I got because whenever I renew my insurance licenses, of course, they always tell us if you're age 65, you have X% chance of living to be age 92 and whatnot. Well, she actually puts this in the comments down below. It says, according to the Society of Actuaries. Actuaries, what are those? Those are basically number crunching nerds about how long you're going to live. Okay, risk management type people. Half of the 65-year-old women in average health today will still be alive at age 88. So think about that. Half of the 65-year-old women today in just average health, not even great health, average health will still be alive at 88. For men, there's a 50% probability you'll still be alive at 85 if you're 65 today. So her point is that if you do the math, yes, you will make more money if you live that long. Here's the problem. Do we have a crystal ball? No. We don't. We have no freaking clue how long we're going to live. But statistically speaking, if you made it into your 60s, congratulations. You're likely to make it into your 80s. Okay, you have a good shot of doing that, which means if you wait till 70, like she's talking about delaying, you will likely have at least 10 years to do that. But let's address some of the other things she talks about here too. She also says delaying is a smart strategy for couples, for married couples, because when one spouse dies, the survivor is entitled to collecting a benefit. Their benefit as well as their deceased spouse. That's true. She also talks about you'll lose out on inflation bumps if you don't delay. But if you do delay, you won't lose out on it. So if they keep doing inflation bumps based on cost of living, based on what the government thinks inflation is, which we know is all crap, then you get that little inflation bump. You actually get that bump along the way so that your number can continue increasing as you're waiting. So the real question is, should you delay? If I had a crystal ball, I would tell you the answer is simple and easy. You'd say, well, you're going to be alive to this age, do this. If you're not going to be alive, do this. I'll tell you, in many of the cases with our clients, some of them will delay, others won't. For example, if I have somebody that's early 60s and they have this choice, should I take it at 62 or wait? And they're trying to build up their cash flow. They're trying to build up their passive income. They need more assets coming in to do that, to achieve it so that they can actually retire by the time they're dead. Then sometimes we'll even say, let's take that cash, use it to go and invest and generate more passive income. So it might make sense. In other cases, if they have enough assets already where we can take that money and make it work for them, we could say, what the heck, delay it. Why not? Let it get its little inflation bumps and then give you a little extra bonus down the road. So for example, we had a client named Dan where he was 60 years old, just retired from the military. For him, he had $1 million in his retirement account. That $1 million he turned not into $30,000 a year, which is what a financial advisor would recommend. And that's why he came to us, because he said, hold on, $30,000 a year living in California, that is never going to happen. That is basically homeless. Okay. That's a broke millionaire. He said, I'm not going to do that. I want that $1 million to make me more than $30,000 a year that then I get taxed on. So what do? We took that $1 million, had him do different things with investing. So he decided he was going to buy some rentals. He went and he invested in oil and gas and started getting paid from royalties and mineral rights off of that. He started doing some things in other real estate veins to the point where his $1 million is now paying him $11,000 a month, which is exactly his goal is only $10,000 a month. So he's there. He's already hit his goal for retirement. Now, for him, I could say, you know what, even if you could get Social Security, maybe hold off, maybe delay it for a little bit longer, let the money accrue and grow and then have it come later, especially if inflation does get horrible. You might as well get a nice little income bump down the road. But I've had other people that are also in their 60s saying, I only make maybe a few thousand a month. I need this income. And maybe they're forced into retirement. Then this could be an absolute lifesaver for them. Maybe they need to take it at age 62. It really just depends on the situation. But I can tell you this, do not try to gamble your way in the stock market to invest and hopefully beat Social Security. I repeat, do not put your money in the stock market to try to gamble. Because what if that stock market goes down? Just like in 2022, we saw the market drop 20%. If you're thinking, I'm gonna try to outpace what I can do with Social Security, and then you lose 20% of your money, understand that when you lose 20%, you need a 25% return in order to get to zero. So what do I mean by that? If you have $100,000, you lose 20%, you have $80,000. Now a 20% on 80,000 will not get you back to 100,000. Because remember, 20%, 1/5 would only give you 16,000. You get to 96. You need that 80,000 to make 20,000 more to bridge that gap, which is a 25% return. That's scary for a lot of people. There are people that I know, including my own father. My dad, I remember after Y2K, he decided to go throw a lot of his mutual funds into high-tech stocks, into tech companies, and then the bubble burst. We had the tech bubble there in Y2K, and that set him back. Many of my clients that I had through the early 2000s, all the way into the mid 2010s and into 2020s, those clients would actually say, hey, I put in a certain lump sum of money in the year 2000, it tanked, and guess what? It took me till about 2015, 2016 to get back to where it was again. Do you have that time to wait 15, 16 plus years in case something decides to drop on you again just because you're gambling on it? You don't want to do that. You do not want to gamble. And I'm not even saying you should go and do real estate, because what if you're horrible at picking real estate yourself? What if you did that? You wouldn't want to take that route. I would recommend this. If you're going to take a route going more the alternative path, find someone who can actually guide you along that process to make sure you find the right deals, ensure that you take less risk so you can get better returns. That is how you can actually outpace it, and that's where it might actually make sense to take it earlier. But like I said, in other cases, you might delay it. It just depends. I just don't believe that we should be delaying gratification in every circumstance. Why? Because I've had clients just recently that have passed away. I remember that both their cases, one was 38 years old, the other was 65. Both those cases, I was very grateful that they had started to build passive income right now so that they can enjoy their family. Many people delay gratification for forever, never truly get that benefit of enjoying their family, enjoying that time, enjoying their spouse now. This is the time to be able to make it work for you. If you try to delay everything, you'll get to the point where you're singing Cats in the Cradle and tears are streaming down your eyes because you not only missed your kids growing up, but now you're starting to miss your grandkids growing up. How long are you going to have to delay that gratification, delay that ability to allow you to have that freedom today? Guys, the answer is here. Keep watching our videos because you'll see that. In fact, if you think this video is cool, you should see my reacts video to Graham Stephan reacting to Dave Ramsey reacting to his portfolio. It's a lot of reactions, so be sure to check that out.